Welcome to the JJ Think Tank. Hello and welcome back to another video on the JJ Think Tank. In this video, I want to talk about Western civilization. I want to view it from a positive perspective, but also from a negative perspective. I want to share my thoughts. This will be a meta-level analysis. I'll be analysing Western civilization from a perspective of ideas, really. I won't be going into the nitty-gritty. And I want to refer to two articles that I wrote, both of which can be found on Medium. The first one I wrote a while back, in 2023, and it was based partly on the book written by F. William Engdahl, an American writer, and another article that I just wrote myself. It was just a reflection on Western civilization, because I felt that perhaps I was a bit too negative. Yes, I wanted also to present a positive vision of Western civilization. And here I was referring more so to the past, because now I think Western civilization is slowly collapsing. I might be wrong. Other thinkers might be wrong as well. Thinkers who share this view of mine that Western civilization is on the decline. Maybe we are all wrong. Maybe it's not so bad out there, but we will see, I guess. Time will tell. So let's talk about the positive first then. So I'll stick with this article for now. And this is how I titled it: A Clarification Regarding My Position on Western Civilization. Now Christianity is not a force in the West anymore. I think we are being overridden by Satanists, by Satanism, and we need to fight back against these Satanists, against these forces of disintegration and chaos. And online you can see, I think in general there is perhaps a counter trend. More and more people are returning to Christianity. They are trying to regain their connection with God, with Jesus. But at the same time, undoubtedly there are a lot of Satanists out there. A lot of Satanism is taking place in the culture, and a battle is definitely playing out. So why did I write this article? Well, I wrote this article because I think in previous articles I was a bit too negative. People could have interpreted what I was saying in the wrong way. They could have viewed me as anti-Western, etc. But no, I'm anti-Western in the sense that I don't like the direction that the West has recently taken. And perhaps this is a deterministic process. Perhaps since the Enlightenment things went wrong. Since the West adopted the process of modernity and thereafter postmodernity, it's inevitable that such a process will lead to collapse. But I'm of a different view. I think Western civilization can still be saved. I guess some people would argue that beginning with the Enlightenment, the West has actually entered a positive trajectory. look, I don't know. It seems to me that things went wrong with the Enlightenment, based on my analysis, based on my style of thinking, my thought processes. It seems that from this moment in time, the West has gone astray, and we have now ended up in the situation we find ourselves in. But anyway, going back to my article now. When it comes to civilizations, I don't think I'm a relativist. I think the West is superior in many aspects when we compare it to other civilizations. The West is able to find a balance between the collective and the individual, more so than others, I think. And this is what a civilization is, according to Koneczny. So Feliks Koneczny, he was one of the first scientists or historians or social scientists who pioneered the comparative science of civilization. So Feliks Koneczny, he was a Polish scientist or social scientist, and he discovered around 20 types of civilizations, of which 7 still exist to this day, having an effect on the world, both currently and the past. And those 7 types are Brahmin. So Brahmin, I guess, is Indian civilization. Jewish, Chinese, Turanian is Russian, basically Russian style of civilization. Latin, which is our civilization, Western civilization. Byzantine, which is also, well, Byzantine, yes. The Byzantine civilization existed, yes. It occupied the lands of modern day Turkey and the surrounding areas of Turkey, and Arab. And so, as I alluded to before, a civilization is a method of organizing collective life. And the differences between civilizations are based on their varying attitude to law and ethics. So yes, this is a nice way of putting it. We can boil down, yes, civilization to the method of organizing collective life. And when we reflect on Western civilization, this method of organizing collective life was definitely very advanced, very nuanced, because the individual was able to gain a lot of liberty for himself while also being part of a collective. But now it seems that in the West things are disjointed. People are atomized. We have this radical individualism taking place, and there is no sense of collectivity. There isn't really a collective life, I think, overall. Maybe this has broken down recently. Maybe before the advent of the information age and the internet. So if we think about the 80s, the 90s, things were probably quite functional, but now not so. And so perhaps this process can be reversed. So now going back to my previous point about why the Enlightenment was perhaps the moment, the pivotal turning point. I make this argument because with the Enlightenment, the world, according to Western eyes, was completely demystified. Science was the organizing principle. Religion and the church, and Christianity lost its power, and materialism took over. Now, look, I'm a fan of the scientific worldview. I think it brings a lot of progress to the world. We can't deny this, but we have to find a balance now because things have gone the other way too much, right? And somehow we need to regain a sense of a collective life. And this is key because if there isn't a collective life, then eventually the laws will break down, yes? No shared sense of ethics. And it's clear that we don't really have a shared sense of ethics because online there are so many debates, yes, and in the real world about how to boil down ethics to what can ethics be boiled down to. Some thinkers argue that we need God, the Bible, and Christianity to provide an ethical structure. We need something supernatural, something transcendent to provide a grounding, a basis to ethical conduct. Whereas others think, no, we can create an alternative ethical system that is derived from more naturalistic or scientific or atheistic principles, Buddhist principles. I think this is what Sam Harris is trying to create. Sam Harris, he is a American thinker. I'm not really a big fan of him. I think his intellect is overrated. He's not really that smart, I think, personally. Daniel Dennett is much more intelligent than him, in my opinion. Out of the four horsemen, Daniel Dennett was the most interesting, in my view. But anyway, going back now, yes, to the Enlightenment. This was where things started to go wrong, I think. And well, we need to rediscover a balance. So let's dive deeper into Western civilization and go further back. So within civilizations, there are varying cultures and other forms of organization, such as nations. And so what is important is that a civilizational type is not tied to any particular race or nation. And so this is true, I guess, when we look at Western civilization. It's a collective of nations based more located more so in the West, in the Western Hemisphere. So obviously we can think of the Anglo nations, England, Britain, America, Canada, but then also the nations of Europe, Germany, France, Spain, Poland, Italy, Denmark, Norway. They all contribute to and contributed to building Western civilization. So yes, Western civilization is not tied to any particular race or nation. And for Koneczny, Feliks Koneczny, Western civilization, Latin civilization, comes from three sources: ancient Greece, with the rational pursuit of knowledge and truth; ancient Rome, where the concept of law as an expression of goodness and equity comes from; and finally Christianity, which transformed the above through its ethics. And I have to agree with this statement that I wrote down here. Within the confines of Western civilization, man, up until this time, was able to achieve self-fulfillment to the highest degree. I mean, I think this is true. We can't deny this, I think. So much progress in recent history came from the West. So much beautiful science, literature, art, music. It's all from the West. It's all from Europe or from America, from Canada, you know. So, but then at the same time, in recent history, so many bad ideas have appeared in the West. Uh, have appeared in the West. Are derived from the West, and I'll go into this a bit later when I cover the next article. So now I want to go into why the West currently no longer represents the aforementioned sources to a great enough degree. Christianity is having a marginal role in society overall. The law is no longer a reflection of goodness, but of corruption, tyranny, injustice. And finally, the excesses of rationality are not tempered by the harmonizing role of the Church. The West's foreign policy is not constrained by morality. This is definitely true now. The West is too aggressive, it's not diplomatic enough, it's arrogant, aggressive, prideful, intervenes everywhere, bombs a lot of countries, forces other countries to accept its model of development. It restricts, it tries to restrict other countries' sovereignty. So this is clearly the case now between Russia and the West, and this battle is playing out in Ukraine. Yes. And there's a gulf between the rulers and the ruled. Yes, our rulers are not kept in check. They're allowed to get away with a lot of nasty things, and this needs to change, surely. The individual citizen is under the process of having his freedoms curtailed, and this elite it's not really elite. These are parasites, parasitic elite, and according to Toynbee, one of the causes for the fall of a civilization. So Toynbee was another scientist of civilizations, much like Koneczny. He also analysed various civilizations. He was a social theorist, social scientist, and this is what he said, and it's obvious, right? There has to be a hierarchy, I agree, but at the same time, the people at the top have to be held accountable. They can't just get away with everything. So, this is why I wouldn't say I'm anti-Western. I'm just against the current style and state of Western civilization. It's corrupt establishment, the status quo. Yeah, things have gone wrong, right? We could analyze this for hours, really. Could analyze this issue from the historical perspective, from the political perspective, from the philosophical perspective. So I've touched on some of these aspects, yes, and but of course we could talk much more about why this has happened. And so therefore this is why I wrote down here at the end. My antipathy is not subsequently directed to the history, values, and legacy that Western civilization represents. After all, there's a reason that both now and in the past, a lot of people want to come to the West, because here they can really develop themselves and achieve liberty and freedom. So yes, but now let's move on to my next article, and here I want to cover Western civilization from the negative perspective. And here really I'll just be talking about ideas, pernicious ideas really. It's kind of what I noticed, and a lot of these ideas they came out of London, America, the Anglo-Saxon world. So Darwinism, for example, this idea that man is derived from the apes. This is a dangerous worldview because it promotes this law of the jungle, this animalistic individualism, this war between individuals. Look, I understand there has to be competition, but it can devolve very quickly into an unethical environment, right? Where those who are more cynical, more unethical, more callous, etc., start to take advantage of other people, society, etc. Yes, and we this is we can see this in you know, in how corporations, the financial sector, other politicians, etc. All these actors, they are quite cynical, and they're not restrained by a sense of ethics. Yes, by ethical conduct. So moral and a sense of morality. What else? Fabian socialism came as its roots are traced back to the Anglo-Saxon world. New atheism, technocracy, neoliberalism, climate change theory. So many ideas. Yes, recent ideas have sprung from the West. And I think this is important to talk about because ideas, they shape the mind, and the mind has an impact on society and on our own life. So yes, let's talk about Darwinism. So Darwinism, accepted subconsciously or consciously in the mind, creates the conditions for a brutish dog versus dog society where immoral ultra-individualism reigns supreme. Climate change inspired policy eradicates the economic foundations of a state in the form of manufacturing and energy production. Fabian socialism is the way in which the middle class is wiped out, the only bulwark against totalitarian governments. So yeah, this process is taking place now. I think the elites are trying to destroy the middle class. I think the middle class is the most important social class because it's a balancing actor. It prevents tyranny, I think, from arising. New atheism creates a nihilistic, demoralized populace. And technocracy. Technocracy, the rule of the technocrats, the bureaucrats. These bureaucrats soon will be replaced probably by AI bureaucrats. And this, if we adopt technocracy, then we could be digitally enslaved into a social credit system. This is a dangerous process. And then finally, democracy in the current Western sense is how the system is legitimized to give the populace a feeling that they are in control, when in fact behind every democracy there lies a Western-led oligarchy, real Western-led oligarchy. I think this is definitely true. We don't really live in a democracy, I think. Finally, I forgot about neoliberalism. So neoliberalism is basically the idea that finance and monetarism should dominate the economy, that these classes should dominate. And this is why we saw the credit crunch. This is why we have experienced all of these financial crashes recently, because the banking sector, the financial sector is not kept in check. They dictate policy too much. The short-term gains of the bankers and financiers takes precedence over the collective well-being of society. So, I mean, I'm sure there are other ideas and worldviews that the West has recently created, which ultimately backfire. Scientism comes to mind. Scientism. This idea that science can explain everything. I guess this is linked to new atheism. At the moment, I can't think of other worldviews that have appeared recently. Well, yes, you understand. I hope what I'm trying to say. Yes, I think a lot of worldviews and ideas that are having an impact on our minds and how society looks like are derived from Western thinkers. Yes, from Western civilization. But yes, I think that's the end of the video. I don't want to talk more about this. 25 minutes, that's a decent time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree. I'm interested to know your thoughts. Perhaps you can provide your own perspective and shed more light on this issue regarding Western civilization and why it's in a bad place at the moment, I think, overall. Or maybe you disagree completely. Maybe Western civilization is actually still on a good path. I don't know. Look, I don't know. I'm just presenting my views, my thoughts, my ideas. And I guess this is also partly grounded on my life experience. There's obviously a subjective element to my ideas, yes, and what I have shared today in this video. But anyway, once again, thank you for listening. If you are a new viewer, consider liking and subscribing. It will help me grow the channel. If you are an existing viewer, like, comment, let me know what you think. Well, yes, I wish you all the best. Take care. Fire in the hole! Thank you for listening to the JJ Think Tank. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.